Hello students, welcome to my channel. Today I am here to teach you class 8 first chapter, that is crop production and management, which is from your Ncert book for Cbse syllabus. So let us begin with it. So in my previous videos I have completed about the steps of crop production and management, how the farmer have to undergo some step to get a proper yield or a good yield of the crops. So today in this video I'll be discussing about two more important points of getting a good yield. That first one is irrigation and the second one is protection from weeds. So let us begin with the first point, that is irrigation. So all the living beings need water to live. Water is important for proper growth and development. For proper growth and development of plant, water is very important, not only for the plant but it is very important for the animals and also the human being. How water is important for the proper growth and development of plant. So now let me tell you one thing. In your previous class you have studied about photosynthesis, where we saw water is taking nutrients, plant is taking nutrients and water from the soil. So now these nutrients, when they enter into the plant, they must be dissolved in the water. So now these nutrients which are present in the soil, they get dissolved in the water and then enter the plant. So now here water is important for the nutrient supply. So once there is nutrient supply, then only the photosynthesis takes place. Once there is water and nutrient supply, the photosynthesis takes place. This is how it helps in the development. Now let me come to the proper growth. How it helps in the proper growth. So proper growth in the sense, if there is no water, then there is no germination of seeds. So no germination of seeds, then is no growth of plant. So water is required for germination of seeds, hence the seeds do not germinate under dry condition. So almost the plant is made up of 90% of water. So let us see here. Along with water, minerals and fertilizers are also absorbed. Plant contain nearly 90% of water. Water is essential because germination of seed does not take place under dry condition. Nutrient dissolved in water are transported to each part of the plant. As I told you, it is very important for the two steps, that is proper growth and development. Water also protects the crop from both frost and hot air conditions. To maintain the moisture of the soil for healthy crop growth, fields have to be watered regularly. Just to get a good crop yield, the soil which is in the field, it should be moist. So to maintain this moisture, it is very important to water the soil regularly. The supply of water to the crops at regular intervals is called as irrigation. So here when you supply water regularly to the crop, that process is called as irrigation. So this irrigation depends upon the crop to crop, soil to soil and season to season. So in the rainy season, it is not so necessary to give that much water to the plant when you are giving during the summer season. So it is necessary to give more amount of water during the summer season because evaporation of water takes place. So how the evaporation of water takes place? In the process of evaporation, you remember plants also play an important role to give up the water in the evaporation. So giving water to the soil and then to the plant and then to the evaporation. So if you don't water plants during the summer, they dries and die and you will not get the yield. So here you can see I am very careful this year about watering the plant. Last summer my plants dried up and died. So last summer he didn't water the plants and they dried up and they died. So what are the sources of irrigation? That means where can you take this water from? So you can take water from wells, tube wells, ponds, lakes, rivers and canals. So these are called as sources of irrigation. So you can take water from wells, tube wells, ponds, lakes, rivers, dams and canals. So there are two methods in which you can take water from. First we will study about traditional method, in which we have 4 types, and next we'll study about the modern method. So in the traditional method, what happened, there is more human labor and cattle work involved. So when this involves, the work is cheaper but it is less effective when compared to the modern methods of irrigation. So let us begin. First is the moat, second is chain pump, third is Zekli and fourth is Rahat. So I will show you the images so that you can get an idea of that. So in the moat, what happened, there is a pulley above the well, so through which the man is drawing the water and pouring it into the field. In the second image, you can see a chain pump. So a wheel type is connected to a motor from which the water is pulled and thrown in the fields. And in the third image, you can see how man is taking water from buckets through a well and pouring it in the field. And in the fourth image, you can see how the cattle is rotating the handle, and that is taking water from the wheels and pouring in the field. So these were the 4 traditional methods. These are cheaper but might be less effective. Modern methods of irrigation. Modern methods of irrigation help us to use water economically. The main methods used are as follows. So you have 2 methods in this modern methods of irrigation. First one is the sprinkler system and second one is the drip system. So in the sprinkler system, what happened, this type of system of watering is used in the uneven plants and where water is not available. So more amount of water is not available and the land is uneven. So what happens here you have a main pipe connected to a source of water. So that main pipe will be divided into many different pipes, and those pipes will be perpendicular. So the top of the perpendicular, there will be a rotating nozzle. So this nozzle will spray water at regular intervals as if it is raining. Yes, water escapes from these nozzles when they are rotating, and that gets sprinkled on the leaves of the plant. So sprinkler irrigation is useful in the type of plants where, like coffee plantation and several other crops and lawns. So I will show you the image of the sprinkler irrigation. Here you can see, as I told you, the source of the water here, irrigation is well. So from the well there is a main pipe connected, and from that you have many other different perpendicular pipe, for which perpendicular pipe there is a nozzle connected, and from which water gets sprinkled on the top of the leaves. And let us see about drip system. In this system, the water falls drop by drop directly near the root. So it is called as drip system. It is the best technique for watering fruit plants, gardens and trees. So this type of system, what happened, this is useful in the fruit plants, gardens and the trees. And in this type of system, water is not wasted, and where there is no amount, like poor amount of water, this type of system, that is drip system, can be used. So what happened in drip system, I will show you in the image. So here, even here, the source of water is a well, so through which a main pipe is connected, and there you have a long vertical pipe to which small holes are connected. Yes, and that holes will be directly connected near the soil. So the root of the plant will be watered. That is, drop by drop water will be falling in the root of the plant. So this was about irrigation, that is sprinkler irrigation and drip irrigation. So we have studied here far about irrigation, traditional methods. In traditional method you saw 4 types, that is mode, the pulley system, chain pump, Dekhli and Rahat. And in the modern methods of irrigation you saw drip system and sprinkler system. So let us proceed with the next point, that is protection from weeds. Buju and Paheli went to a nearby wheat field and saw that there were some other plants in the field growing along with wheat plants. So along with the wheat plants, there were many other plants growing in the field. Yes, so they saw and were thinking, so what are these plants and why are they growing? So these are the undesirable plants which are growing naturally along with the crop in the field. So these undesirable plants are called as weeds, and the removal of these weeds is called as weeding. Weeding is very necessary as it takes up the water, nutrient, space and light of the crop, and this will affect the growth of the crop. And second thing is they interfere during the harvesting, and some weeds are poisonous for animals and the human beings. So weeding is very necessary. So there are some steps taken for the process of weeding. So let us see the first step. Farmers adopt many ways to remove weeds and control their growth. We have studied about tilling, that is, tilling is done before sowing of the crops, which helps in uprooting and killing of the weeds, which may then dry up and get mixed up with the soil. So when this tilling is done, they remove the weeds from the roots, and these roots get mixed up with the soil, they dry up and left over there, and then the sowing is done. I think that the best time to remove these weeds is that when they are flowering, and before they flower, before they produce the flowers and form the seeds. Yes, because once they start flowering, the seeding is formed, and once the seed falls in that soil, again the growth of the weed begins. So there are 2 methods. One is a manual method and one is a chemical method. So first we will see how manual method is done. Manual method is done by uprooting of the weeds. It is done by using an instrument called kurupi. Either it is uprooted from the ground or it is cut close to the ground. And one more method, that is by using the chemicals. So these chemicals are called as weedicide. For example, 2,4-D. So 2,4-D is a weedicide which is sprayed on the weeds to kill them. They do not damage the crop. So once you spray them, you can see here the farmer is spraying the weedicide on the weeds. So he is spraying its completely in the field, and these will not affect the crops, but they affect the weeds. The weeds die after this. So these weeds are very harmful for the farmers. So when they are spraying, they have to keep in mind that they have to cover their nose and mouth using a piece of a cloth or wear mask. So the best time is when, that is during vegetative growth, that is before the flowers are produced. You have to remove these weeds. So in this video we have come across irrigation. In the irrigation we saw 2 types, that is 2 methods of irrigation, that is traditional method in which we saw 4 types, and in modern we saw 2 types, that is drip and sprinkler irrigation. And one more point which we studied about crop production is that protection of weeds. Protection of weeds is very important, and that is done by 2 methods. One is the manual one and one is the chemical one, by spraying the weedicide. So in this video we have studied all these things. So if you want to know more about the crop production and management, so please watch my next video in which I'll be continuing with the other points. For today, thank you and stay connected with me.